Hey there, my name's Fluffy the Destroyer, and welcome to my channel. It looks like I got tagged by Demon Ralph. I was really busy and fucking angry for a couple of days. Well, not a couple of days, but, real life shit. Before I start, here's the thing. And yes, what you said, Demon Ralph, I really appreciate it, bro. It really means a lot to me. Wow. Uh, Thank you. That's all I can say. I did look at Clone Nebula's video. I wasn't tagged by him, but I wanted to answer because I found those questions to be really important. Well, not important, but really, really interesting. That's the word I wanted to use, interesting. And I wrote those questions, yeah, because it wasn't written. I thought about it. Real life shit came on. They invaded me. And then a day later, when I thought about the answers, I deleted the file because here's the thing, and I didn't want that to be. I'm not looking to be pitied here. I've accepted the fact about my son, my life, and my wife's life. It's all accepted. It's all done. My son can't play games. Here's the thing. He has Jacobson syndrome. The thing is, just look on Google if you want to, but it's a whole package of things that's going on. Like, it's fucking wrong with his body. That's what he has. Heart condition problems, colon problems. That's what he had. Well, digestive system problems. Let's say he was regurgitating until he was 1 year old, for example, 2 times a day. You really freak out when you see that. Day after day after day, and I'm not exaggerating here. He's also deaf. On one ear, can't hear anything. On the other one, 50 decibels. So the volume I'm speaking, it's like a whisper to him. So he needs hearing aids. Mentally, it's like he's a 8-year-old physical kid, but in his mind, it's like 2. Communication-wise, 6 months. Maybe less. He also has ADHD, super active, hyperactive. I have the biggest fucking problem to make him fat or just make him gain weight. And he eats like me. And I'm willing to bet that he's eating more than you, Demon Ralph. I really bet that he's eating more than you. He can't gain weight. His body's really active. And the thing is, when I go to the hospital, for example, for exams or tests and everything, or like a stupid thing that happened a couple of days ago, why I felt angry, and I'm going to say this because, hey, it's not really private, and I think everyone can relate to this. You go to the hospital, in my case, it was just a test for his hearing aids. The government didn't want to support me because his hearing aids test was really old. It's like he was like a year old before he did the test. So what's happening now? Does he is it worse? Is it better for his ears? Does he hear better now or something? No one knows, not even me. I do have some ideas that it's gotten worse a bit, but who knows? We have to do a test. Tell that to an ADHD test to an ADHD kid to sit and stay put for 10 minutes. A normal kid can't do that. You got a lot of problem with that. He has ADHD. Yeah, it doesn't really work well. So we have to put him to sleep for a couple of moments. So yeah, he the usual drill when you do an operation. You starting by midnight, you can't eat anything, and from from 6 o'clock until up, you can't drink anything at all. Tell that to a kid who has ADHD and he has the mental capacity of a 2-year-old kid. You know how a baby reacts when he's hungry? He screams and he wiggles his his arms and his legs. He's a baby. You can control him fucking easily, except for his mouth. He screams and screams. Tell that to an 8-year-old kid. He can throw things. He can kick things, and people too. If he wants that food, he will get that food, for example. I've been able to contain him, and yes, for an autist, he's also autist as well. He doesn't have a lot of luck on his side. And yes, with an autist kid, there's one thing you learn really quick. Do not contain him. Do not physically contain him. And yes, that's what happens sometimes. I have to. I'm willing to deal with it, but it's not a lot of people that can do that. And tell that when you go to the hospital, for example, just to do some simple fucking tests. And yesterday I got really freaking mad and frustrated with this whole situation because my kid didn't eat, like he didn't have breakfast. I couldn't let him do that because he was going on the operation table. Well, on the operation table, but just for tests. They have to put him to sleep and do all kinds of tests on his ears, and for that he must not eat. And 15 minutes, when it was 2 o'clock, 15 minutes before 2, they tell us, everything's canceled because whatever baby had a problem in the morning and blah, 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 blah. I was so fucking mad. Wow. I was out of... No, it's... I was fucking mad. Yeah, so we have to do it again. At a certain point. I don't even know the date right now. I don't know. I'm gonna do everything I can to put it in the morning, like the earliest possible. I don't fucking care if I have to wake at 4 o'clock. I don't want that shit cancel on me again. I've been able to contain him, and that's where I want to go with my questions. Well, with the questions, because he doesn't want to play games. He's not interested. If there's a monitor, if there's a television, if there's like a mouse or like a television remote, all he wants to do is to listen to his Jack the Pirate show on Disney Junior. That's what he wants. He's 8 years old, mental capacity of a 2-year-old kid. He loves that show. What he wants to do is this in his life right now. He's authist, so there's a lot of stuff that he did before that he doesn't do now. I have to start the whole like process of the kid thing again with him, even though he's 8. What he wants to do is just, well, I can't find a toy, but everything he can spin with his arms, he will spin it. He's looking for sensations, like visual sensations. He also spins on himself just to have that feeling of dizziness. He loves that feeling. And yes, that's what he wants. So games doesn't make sense to him. He doesn't want to. I show him, but he doesn't want to. What I can do about the questions is this. I'll answer it if I have a kid. If I had a kid that would play games or had the ability to play games. So again, I'm not looking for pity, but that's my view on the games. Kids in gaming. When I have like a kid that's really mentally ill. But if I didn't have one, that would be my answer. So number 1, would you let your kids be gamers? Yes. In my case, I use television, computers, and tablets and everything around me for my kid as a reward tool. He does something good, or he acted really good without getting pissed off and everything. I try to make him understand that it's a tool, that it's a reward. You did good, you can play games. That's how I would let him. But if he was normal, like he wasn't mentally challenged or anything, yes, I would let him play games. Why not? But most of the time, get the fuck out of here, man. Just don't be in a house. Just go outside. You're a kid. Socialize. Be with other kids. That's the main point of being a kid. Trust me, when you'll be an adult, a lot of things will change. Play games all your life if you want to at that point. Number 2, what kind of games would you let your children play? There's no limit. What he wants to play. Any game could be it. But like Artificial said in Demon Ralph's comment, what he was talking about is playing with my son. It was an experiment that a guy made with his son. He wanted to make him play games from the old era, like the Atari 2600, until today, the modern age of gaming, because those games and games today are really different. Here's an excerpt of his website. I love games, and I genuinely wanted Elliot to love and appreciate them too. So here's my experiment. Start with the arcade classics with Atari 2600, from Asteroids to Zaxxon. After a year, move on to the 8-bit era with the Nintendo and Sega Classics. The next year, the Super Nintendo, Game Boy, Classic PC Adventure games. In case no one knows, PC games in the early days, like in the 80s and 90s, well, especially the 80s and 70s, that was strategy games and PC and adventure games. Some simulation games as well. like F-117 Stealth Fighter, for example. Sierra games, they like the adventure games of Sierra. They're like Police Quest, King Quest, really good games. Quest of Glory as well. Then the PlayStation and Nintendo 64, Xbox and GBA, and so on until we're caught up with the modern age of the modern era of gaming. Would that child better appreciate modern independent games that don't have the budget of AAA monstrosities like Destiny or Call of Duty? Would they appreciate the retro aesthetics? Or just think it looks crappy? That's the difference. It's an old game, but it's harder. And you could transport that value. You can copy some of those, I would say, values that you can get from gaming. When you have an obstacle, how does a child react? Does he quit? Does he flips the table and go away? Does he cry? Or whatever. I've seen that. A kid can do something, he'll cry. He'll get so pissed off that he'll gonna go away. I've seen that. I think it's a perfect opportunity. It's just a game. You can just restart the whole thing and you'll get it eventually. You're going to have a lot of problems. So when you have an obstacle, that could be a good learning tool. You can do that with games. It's really easy. Number 3, would you let your children play games that you played? Again, playing with my son website. Yeah, I would. I would especially do that with my child if I had the opportunity. Again, I can have other children, so that could happen. Number 4, at what age would you let your children play games? I would observe my child's reaction to a game. There are certain games that I don't really feel comfortable with, like Grand Theft Auto, Call of Duty, or either over-sexualized or over-the-top violent games like these. I don't really feel comfortable with them. But I would talk to them. That's the thing. It doesn't mean that they talk or they don't talk or when they talk to you they say something, but they could feel different. Like, just talk to them, observe them. It's really easy, you know. Just you talk about the game like Call of Duty, and you like, do they feel comfortable with it? Do they like it or not? I don't know. Whatever. Just talk to them. Communication, that's the secret word in here with number 4. Number 5, would you let your kids play games not in their age range? It's almost same answer as 4. It's all on observation, and here's the thing. It's all on the perception of what they see in that game. You got to communicate with them. You got to know what they feel. Like, a game is just a game. It's not real life. You got to make sure that this kid understands that. Some kids are like little freaking walking sponges. They suck everything. And here's a little anecdote of how it can be bad or good. Just judge that by yourself. I was 12 or 14 or whatever, and I took care of a kid who was 6. Sorry, breakfast. And that kid was, like I said, he was 6, and he would love to see the show Power Rangers. There's no kid in the world that I know, like every kid I know, that just tried to do the moves of the Power Rangers. So there's a show, it's only a show, they do some karate moves, and they copy that. So you know where I'm going with games. You gotta make sure they understand it's only a game. Don't do that in real life. They gotta understand. As long as they can understand that, it's your fucking job. You're a parent. You're supposed to observe your child all the freaking time. You're supposed to know what they feel. You're supposed to know how they react, how they feel, how they think. That's your freaking job. You're their guide. So you got to make sure about that. So yes, there are certain games that I'm not comfortable with, but I would like to know how they feel and everything. So there are certain games that I don't think I'm going to let them play, like, I don't know, Grand Theft Auto or whatever, but it's a game, so as long as they understand it's a game, no problem there. As long as their reactions and their behavior and their attitude doesn't change because of a game, no problem there. I know some can change them. Number 6. Any specific titles you want your kids to play? Honestly, I think RPGs are good. especially old RPGs, like old games. You have something that looks shitty and crappy and pixelated, so you gotta make your. It's like the old horror movies. I love those old movies. No budget, and they had a way to make you imagine things, to make your mind work. For example, the movie Jaws. You don't see the shark. You never see it. But the director had a way to make you imagine it. All the way through the movie, you don't see the shark. It's almost at the end. You see it for a couple of seconds, but you can feel him. You can know he's there. You can imagine him. It's like the old horror movies. You barely see the monster. You can imagine him. You see like a little glimpse. You can just imagine him. You make your mind work. Imagine him. Your brain is a really big tool, and for a kid, it's a really useful tool. Use that to their advantage. Old games. You got an RPG game like Final Fantasy 1, for example. Like graphically, and of course, it's really understandable. It's on the Nintendo. It really looks fucking crappy. What about the world? You see it. It's like a pixelated city, but or a village in this case, like in the first city you encounter with. There's a lot of character that you see that are so pixelated you don't know how they look like. You can make them tell, like you tell your child, just make me a picture, like a real life picture of that guy. Work your brain. You'll just, it's use your brain, use your imagination, and for a kid, it's a really good tool. Like old games, that's what I would want my kids to play. Modern gaming, like modern games, of course. Because of games are just games. They're there to entertain you for a couple of moments. But if used correctly, like there's a lot of games out there, they have good real life lessons in there. They got good moral that you can talk to your son about moral issues in there. Man, there's a lot of them that talks about death or talks about sex in a way that I don't know, you might not feel comfortable with when talking to your son or to your kid about a certain subject. Games can help you with that. I may go deep in that, but that's my feeling about games. So I would say old games first, but modern game, yeah, of course. Games are games, but they're more than games. I can tell you that they can be used for a lot of other stuff. So my name's Fluffy. If you did like those answers, just put them in the comments and subscribe and rate. And see you later.